So the NFL wildcard round is in the books, and I definitely have some takeaways, so here they are. First off, we start off with the 49ers defeating the Seattle Seahawks 41-23 in a game that, well, the Seahawks were actually winning, believe it or not, at the half. They played a lot better than I expected the first half, but as we all know, it takes two halves and four quarters to decide a football game, and unfortunately, Seattle did not play very well in the second half. The 49ers ran away with it. I was most impressed with Brock Purdy, who I thought, once again looked really good. He doesn't look like just some rookie that, is just going to completely fall and collapse under the pressure. Purdy stepped up in a big way, and I think we saw that, in the second half, and that led to the 41-23 blowout with the 49ers taking down the Seattle Seahawks. Moving on, the Jaguars took on the Chargers in what was one of the worst quarterback performances in a half I think any of us have ever seen. Trevor Lawrence throws 4 interceptions, then he throws 4 touchdowns in the second half, 3 touchdowns in the second half, one at the very end of the first, to somehow shock the world, shock the Chargers, and win this game in Duval. The Jaguars advance, and to be honest with you, this is how I expected it. Just like the Niners game, I didn't think it'd be close. I took the Jaguars in a close one against the Chargers. I don't think the Chargers were very good this year. I think they very much took advantage of a very easy schedule, a defense that never quite really felt great despite all of the talent they had, and an offense that was really the Justin Herbert show. Keenan Allen started joining halfway through the season when he got healthy, and Austin Eckler was criminally underutilized in this game, and I think he cost a lot of people some money. So, that was not a shock to me. Shout out to Doug Peterson. Ballsy play calling and just his demeanor there, I think, really pushed Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence over the edge. You also got to give a shout out to that defense that held Justin Herbert to only 3 points in the second half. The Bills and Dolphins game. The Bills came away with a 34-31 win against a third-string quarterback in Skylar Thompson, who no one gave a shot in hell to compete in this game. So many people picked the Bills 13.5 and even more with alternate spreads, including me. But the Dolphins stepped up, and you saw a defense that cover zero gave Josh Allen some problems. And I think, honestly, there was a big thing that was basically kind of shown and exposed for anybody that plays the Buffalo Bills, is that Ken Dorsey is not Brian Daboll. I know, shocker, right? But no, Ken Dorsey is not Brian Daboll in that he simply has put Josh Allen in these poor positions, this offense in poor positions. When you look at that second half and the way they got the ball running, with Motor Singletary, I don't know what they were thinking trying to go deep down the field. Josh Allen had an average depth of target per pass over 22 yards. I mean, that is insane. Just way too much passing deep down the field, which kept the Dolphins in it. And of course, you have to give a shout out to Skylar Thompson, the 7th round pick out of Kansas State. He looked pretty decent. Not great, but not bad. And he kept them in the game. You have the stars like, Waddle and Hill. And of course, I think they were really just missing Mostert in this game, but I think they were Raheem Mostert away from upsetting the Bills. And I was very impressed with how good of a game that this truly was. And so I got to give the Dolphins a lot of credit, although they fell. That definitely looks like a promising future as long as they're not stupid and fire Mike McDaniel. I think they're going the right direction. Moving on, we have the Giants and Vikings, which everyone's least surprising upset. The Vikings were a team all year, 11-0 against one possession games against good teams. They really struggled, and for the most part, this is just a team that I expected so much of. And while I got that out of their record, I just didn't see it with their performance. Their record really didn't indicate what kind of team they were. And we saw that in this one. At home, I'll be honest with you, the Vikings fans, they showed out and they looked really good doing it. It's one of the best home stadiums, home field advantages in the league. And, I don't think the Vikings really cared. I mean, obviously they cared, but they didn't show it. And, Kirk Cousins at the end of the game taking a check down on 4th and 8 or whatever it was, just bizarre. Shout out to the Giants. I thought Daniel Jones played his butt off. And what I mean by that is he played his best game of his entire NFL career when he had to have it. I thought Isaiah Hodgins stepped up in a big way, getting that touchdown out of the tight end, the rookie tight end, Daniel Bellinger was huge. I thought the defense, made some big time plays. So the Giants, don't call it a Super Bowl victory right in the bag, but just saying, the last time they went to the Super Bowl, the last 2 times, they were the wild card team. Don't forget that. All right, we move on to the Bengals and the Ravens. And this game was another one that was way closer than I expected. The Bengals and Ravens, first off, I get their, this rivalry, and I understand that. But not having Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley, who has shown some promise in the past, but hasn't really looked all that great this year at any point. I just didn't really expect much. I expected this to be probably an ugly game because of the way the Ravens manage the games and everything, and their defense plays tough football and, all that. But I didn't think it'd be, this. And I mean, by close, the Ravens should have won this game. Let's be honest here. If they just plow the ball in, run it at this 2-yard line with J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards, they win this football game. Probably. It was 17-17 for those of you who didn't see it. They're at the 2-yard line, and they have a QB sneak in which the genius idea of having Tyler Huntley go over the pile and reach when he was nowhere near the goal line. It gets punched out, and it gets run all the way back for 6. And, it wasn't ideal. After that, it was really hard to come back. They're down 24-17. They have a last-second Hail Mary. We won't talk about the completely awful clock management from John Harbaugh. Stop me if you've heard that one before. I like the guy, but I don't know what he's doing managing the clock. I don't think I've ever seen a drive where they had over 3 minutes left to go in the game, and they're at the 50, and it ends up ending in a Hail Mary. Just wasted way too much clock, but I think it really comes down to that play, going over the top, having the ball get punched out. That was the beginning of the end. And we've seen that. Turnovers are backbreakers, and they're more so backbreakers when they're in the playoffs. Not everybody gets to overcome them like Jacksonville did. So we move on. Again, shout out to the Ravens for staying in that game, but they really blew that one. Bengals will play the Bills. The last one was last night. Cowboys Bucks. I had the Bucks winning this game because I just felt like it would be ugly. I felt like the Bucks, they're not a great football team at all. They're 8-10 on the year because they lost this game. But I just felt like the Cowboys, while they had 12 wins, they were the team that when they're on, they're on. They look like the team to beat. They can beat anybody. They can win the Super Bowl. But when they're off, they're really off. And we saw that going into the playoffs. That's kind of been a theme here. When you go into the playoffs on kind of a poor note, it's really hard to come back from that. And losing to a quarterback who had never started a game in the NFL the way they did, getting blown out by Washington, a team that was playing for virtually nothing. I just didn't expect them to come out the way they did. And they did. They proved me wrong. Dak played a great football game. Everyone got the memo except for the field goal kicker, Brett Maher, who missed 4 extra points. I've never seen anything like it. It felt like it was on purpose at times. But all jokes aside, Dallas is playing really good football. They're going to play the 49ers, and they have a shot to knock them out. I'm not saying they're going to, but they have a shot. So that means the divisional round, we got the Jaguars taking on the Chiefs. We got the Giants taking on the Eagles. We got the Bengals taking on the Bills, and the Cowboys against the 49ers. So here's some takeaways. The first thing is, I hope the NFL, and I tweeted about this for those of you who saw, but I hope the NFL takes a moment, looks at the way this wild card season, or the way this wild card weekend went, and just takes a moment and realizes, look, we can't have this anymore. Tampa Bay wasn't even a game. That was not even a game. Tampa Bay won their division at 8-9. Yes, fine. You want to make them an automatic playoff bid? I don't agree with it entirely, but okay, whatever. I think they should get rid of divisions and just have conferences or just giant divisions. I don't know. Whatever they're doing right now isn't working because we've had this now multiple times. We had a 7-9, Seattle team host a playoff game. As you know, the Marshawn Lynch, crazy run and everything. I'm kind of over teams that don't win. In the case of the the Bucks this year playing 17 games in a schedule, they won fewer than half of their games. I'm over that. I'm over letting teams like that in the playoffs. But what I'm really over, if we're going to even do that, and whatever, fine, you want to give them an automatic bid, fine. But why are they hosting a playoff game? Why on earth is the team that has the same record as last year's Super Bowl champion LA Rams, the Dallas Cowboys at 12-5? Why are they going on the road to play a team on the road that's hosting it at 8-9? They finished 8-10 on the year. They lost they won 8 out of 18 games total. I don't know how that's justifiably okay. You've made all these changes, NFL. You've changed the kickoffs. You've changed the onside kicks. You've changed overtime in the playoffs. You've changed overtime in the regular season. You've changed the way you can tackle people, the way you can't tackle people. You've changed reviewing. Let's not forget they had reviewing pass interference and they got rid of that really quickly. You've changed all these things, but you have not once come close to changing this. And it's just not acceptable. You had a team in the Detroit Lions, I think, were a top 4 at the very least, maybe even top 3 team in the NFC to end the season. They played a tough schedule, and they lost a bunch of one-possession games to start the year. But that team, we now don't get to see in the playoffs because this team had to make it. I mean, it's already bad enough that there's a Monday Night Football wildcard game, and that brings me to my next thing. But it's already bad enough that there's a Monday Night Football wildcard game as it is. But to not have it even be competitive, to be fun, I don't know, man. The quality on the field compared to the rest of the weekend was just not there. Even the Seattle game, say what you will about the Seahawks, they did perform up until the second half, and then the second half they fell off. But even that game, there was like fireworks. This game was just no. This was the Cowboys and the Cowboys and the Cowboys. And this was watching Tom Brady's potential last game of his career because, man, that guy did not look good last night. Playoff Lenny, where were you? 2.4 yards per carry average? Not ideal. Maybe it was even worse than that. That was 2.4 last time I checked. So, yeah, just really not a good look by the NFL, allowing a team like that, once again, year after year, to make the playoffs, get embarrassed, all of that. Just not ideal. The Cowboys, bottom line, whether you like them or not, and I'm not a Cowboys fan, so don't take any bias with that. I have a Rams helmet here. But the Cowboys won 12 games. Like, they shouldn't be the 5th seed. They should not be. They should maybe not hosting a play. They shouldn't be the 5th seed. It's ridiculous. But anyway, that's my thoughts about that. My other thoughts: get rid of the Monday Night Football wildcard game. It is ridiculous to have a team like the Niners play on Saturday. Right? They play their game on Saturday. They're done. So, because they have a 3-seed difference or a 2-seed difference than the two teams playing on Monday night, now the 49ers are going to have that extra day's rest. So not only do they have Sunday rest, but they also have Monday rest as well, because their opponent for this Sunday played on Monday. So for them, it's extra rest, and for the Cowboys, it's a short week. This is how you get rewarded for making the playoffs, winning 12 games, going on the road and beating a team that shouldn't have even been made. Like, you have to play on a day's less of rest. I mean, that doesn't make sense. The whole point of the playoffs is it should be a clean slate. Now, the clean slate should be also determined based on seeding. So it's a clean slate in the fact everyone's tied at 0-0 for their record. And that may be so, but it's also it still matters based on where you are in the seeding. So your season should matter. It should determine your seeding, your record should determine your seeding. But the idea that you can win 12 games and not host a playoff game, and even worse, have a team that won 8 games host a playoff game, host you, and then play on a shorter week, and then have the team that you're going up against play on 2 days rest. That is asinine. I don't know who thought of that. The NFL is such a big company. They're such a big organization. But the fact of the matter is that this is a pedestrian way to do it. It's really pathetic. It's really bad. So those are my thoughts. I had to throw those out there. Kind of going into this game, I have the Chiefs over the Jaguars. I think it's going to be a 10-point game for the Chiefs. I think the Jaguars will be competitive, but I just think right now Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, and I just think it's going to be hard to beat the Chiefs on a week's rest. Giants and Eagles, that could go either way. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles at home by a total of 4 points. So I'll say like 24-20 or something like that. Bills Bengals to me feels like a Bengals win. But I do have to say, why is this in Buffalo? I know the first game was in Cincy, but that was on the schedule, and Buffalo played them the last time, so they alternate. But why is this game in Buffalo? They had more wins, sure, but they both decided to make their game not count. So their game doesn't exist. The Bills finished 13-3. The Bengals finished 12-4. But the Bengals won their last game. And so did the Bills. So did the Bills. So here's the thing, okay? The Bills were losing. I think it was 7-3. They were losing in the first quarter, and the Bengals were driving to make it potentially a 14-3 game. And for whatever reason, we're just gonna be like, yeah, the Bills are at home. Look, I understand everything that happened, and I'm very understanding of the whole Damar Hamlin situation, but I'm just confused what all of that process was, how this can't be, the NFC title game can't be here, and it can't be here, and this can't be here. But then this game is not on a neutral site. It's in Buffalo. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Feels like we dropped the ball somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Maybe I am. Drop in the comments. Feels like someone dropped the ball. And then lastly, the Cowboys and Niners game. While I think the Cowboys can win this, I'm going to take the Niners in a 6-point affair. I think the Niners are the best team in the league right now. I know they haven't really played much of anything competition-wise. They lost to the Chiefs, who were the best team they played. They didn't just lose. They got blown out. But the Niners right now are a different football team. You know, Christian McCaffrey is fully integrated into their offense. I would not be surprised if this team won it all. And I do have them winning it all. I have them beating the Chiefs. But as of right now, I do think the light kind of the switch went off, and I think the Cowboys might be ready to go in this one. If they carry over that play that they had against the Buccaneers, they'll be pretty good in this one. So that is my recap of Wild Card Weekend. Those were my thoughts. If we learned anything, run the football. Teams that were not running the football, I don't know what the Chargers were doing. You had a 27-7 lead going into the half, and you didn't run the football at all. I mean, you ran, 12 times with Eckler? I don't know what the Ravens were doing. I mean, the way that J.K. Dobbins was running the football, they could not stop him, and you don't even give it to him at the 2-yard line? I understand why J.K. Dobbins is upset for only getting 13 or 14 carries. I think really the common theme here was turnovers and running the ball. And there were teams that didn't, and there were teams that did. And the teams that were able to get by were the teams that had a Josh Allen. The teams that were able to get by were teams that, well, they're just really, really good. But when you're not that great and you're barely in the playoffs as it is, you can't afford to make those mistakes. Jaguars, Doug Peterson, coach of the week, I thought. He was unbelievable when he had to be. They were put in a really tough situation, and he was able to get them out of it. And his ballsy play calling at the end really allowed them to win that game. So playing to win instead of playing not to lose does work. Doug Peterson knows he won a Super Bowl doing it. Obviously, everyone knows the Philly special. But that is going to be it. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, folks.